माधव कुंज बिहारी
राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन
यशोदनन्दन व्रजरञ्जन
यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन
यशोदनन्दन व्रजरञ्जन
यमुनातीरावनचारि
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 जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
सुदेवाय
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Hare Krishna. Welcome you all to this Saturday Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 2, Shlok Kramank, Shlok number 17 to 21. Today we are reading so many shloks. So we'll chant first shloka for 3 times and then we'll move towards another shlokas. हिरण्यकशिपुर्भ्रातु सम्परेतस्य दुःखितः
सम्परेतस्य दुःखितः
कृत्वा कटोदकादीनि भ्रातुपुत्रान् सान्त्वयत्
भ्रातुपुत्रान् सान्त्वयत्
हिरण्यकशिपुर्भ्रातुः
हिरण्यकशिपुर्भ्रातुः
सम्परेतस्य दुःखितः
सम्परेतस्य दुःखितः
कृत्वा कटोदकादीनि भ्रातृपुत्रान् सान्त्वयत्
भ्रातुपुत्रान् सान्त्वयत्
हिरण्यकशिपुर्भ्रातुः
हिरण्यकशिपुर्भ्रातुः
सम्परेतस्य दुःखितः
सम्परेतस्य दुःखितः
कृत्वा कटोदकादीनि
कृत्वा कटोदकादीनि
भ्रातृपुत्रान् सान्त्वयत्
भ्रातुपुत्रान् सान्त्वयत्
Synonyms, translation and purport. Synonyms: Hiranyakashipuhu,
हिरण्यकशिपुः
Hiranyakashipu, Bhratuhu,
भ्रातुः
of the brother,
of the brother
Samparetasya,
सम्परेतस्य
deceased, Dukkhitaha,
दुःखितः
being very much distressed,
being very much distressed
Kritva, performing,
perform
Katodak Adini,
कटोदकादीनि
ceremonies observed after a death,
ceremonies after death
Bhratur Putran,
भ्रातुपुत्रान्
the sons of his brother,
the sons of his brothers
Santvayat,
asantvayat
pacified.
pacified.
Translation: After performing the ritualistic observances for the death of his brother, Hiranyakashipu, being extremely unhappy, tried to pacify his nephews. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So Hare Krishna, welcome you all again. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 2, entitled The Science of God, text number 17. We'll move towards next text, 18. So we'll directly read the translation. O King, because it's the sequence, it is the context where previous verses or previous sessions we have studied how after the death of Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu started his atrocities. He started calling his people, the Rakshasas army, and ordered them to disturb the civilization. So that part we studied or read in previous shlokas, and in previous one or two shlokas it is the description at the place where Hiranyaksha's body is what we call cremated. So at that place of cremation, now the context is going on that Hiranyakashipu, he reveals his intelligence or his understanding of Vedic literatures or understanding of the subject matters in the Vedas. So he will guide on the body, soul, mind to his kinsmen. That is his mother. Here it is explained. His mother, the wife of his brother, and her children. He will guide them on the path of uh, what we call spiritual understandings or understanding of body, soul. He will give that understanding. So Srila Prabhupada will walk us through all this context, giving the deeper understanding of spirituality. So we'll move towards the next shloka. Let me read the translation of this. Shlok Kramank 18 and 19. O king, it is Maitreya Muni saying, or yeah, Hiranyakashipu was extremely angry, but since he was a great politician, he knew how to act according to the time, the situation. With sweet words, he began pacifying his nephews, whose names were Shakuni, Shambhara, Drishti, Bhuta, Bhuta Santapan, Vrika, Kalanabha, Mahanabha, Harishmashru, and Utkacha. He also consoled their mother, his sister-in-law, Rusha Bhanu, as well as his own mother, Diti. He spoke to them all as follows. श्रीहिरण्यकशिपु उवाच अम्ब हे वधूपुत्रा वीरं माहार्थशोचितुं रिपोरभिमुखे श्लाघ्यः शूराणां वद ईप्सितः. Translation. Hiranyakashipu said, My dear mother, sister-in-law and nephews, you should not lament for the death of the great hero, for a hero's death in front of his enemy is glorious and desirable. So he is giving solace to their hearts. Bhutanam iha samvasah prapayam iva suvrite daivene katra nitanam unnitanam swakarmabhi. Translation. My dear mother, in a restaurant or a place for drinking cold water, many travelers are brought together, and after drinking water, they continue to their respective destinations. Similarly, living entities join together in a family, and later, as a result of their own actions, they are led apart to their destinations. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. प्रकृतेः क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः अहंकार विमूढात्मा कर्ताहम् इति मन्यते. The bewildered soul under the influence of the three modes of material nature thinks himself the doer of the activities which are in actuality carried out. 3.27. All living entities act exactly according to the directions of Prakriti, material nature, because in the material world we are fully under a higher control. All the living entities in this material world have come here only because they wanted to be equal to Krishna in enjoyment, and have thus been sent here to be conditioned by material nature in different degrees. In the material world, a so-called family is a combination of several persons in one home to fulfill the terms of their imprisonment. As criminal prisoners, as criminal prisoners scatter as soon as their terms are over and they are released. All of us who have temporarily assembled as family members will continue to our respective destinations. Another example given is that family members are like straws carried together by the waves of a river. Sometimes such straw mix together in whirlpools and later dispersed again by the same waves. They float alone in the water. Although Hiranyakashipu was a demon, he had Vedic knowledge and understanding. Thus, the advice given to his family members, his sisters, sister-in-law, mother, and nephews, was quite sound. The demons are considered highly elevated in knowledge, but because they do not use their good intelligence for the service of the Lord, they are called demons. The demigods, however, act very intelligently to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 13 as follows. Atah pumbir shreshtha varnashrama vibhagasah swanushtitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Obeyed among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties, dharma, according to caste divisions and orders of life. It is orders of life is to please the Lord Hari. To become a demigod or to become godly, whatever one's occupation, one must satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. So, so in the world, we may have seen so many instances where people look very intelligent externally through their degrees, through their potential to speak and influence people. But whenever the subject matters comes, the true spirituality, everybody says, "Oh, that's let us discuss in future. It's not the time to work on that." But in a place of crematorium, everybody naturally they take the shelter of Vedas, scriptures, take the shelter of uh, the concepts called body, soul, mind, and they try to console the hearts of their relatives. It is quite uh, means it is understandable. Every time we have experienced that, and many of you have experienced too. That in such a place, we just for little bit time we think about death. Truly, we think about death, and truly, we think about the temporary nature of this material world. Srila Prabhupada here is saying, Prakrite kriyamanani gunah karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. Why living entities are sent to this material world, or why they are here in this material world? Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he says, just because living entities wants to equal in enjoyment with Krishna, or he wants to equate his enjoyment equal to Krishna. Let me read that sentence itself. All living entities in this material world have to come here only because they wanted to be equal to Krishna in enjoyment. If Krishna is enjoying, we also want to independently enjoy as Krishna enjoys. So here we must understand the two words Prakriti and another word is Purusha. Purusha means one who enjoys, and Prakriti so most see in this world. If some, let us take an example. If a servant wants to enjoy as master is trying to enjoy, or as a master is enjoying, so most of the time it is seen. Let us consider that a king, he sits on the throne. A king, he goes to fight. A king who sits on a throne, if a servant thinks that as my master, my king, he is sitting on a throne, in his absence, I will sit on the throne. So what will happen? The next day he will kicked out from the kingdom, isn't it? So, but what is the greater, what we call benefit of a servant? To sit on a throne or to serve a master who is seated on a throne. So, if a servant serves the master or king, is on a throne, the king gets pleased by the service of the servant. And in this relationship or in this connection, both are satisfied. In Krishna's term, Krishna is Atmaram, he is fully satisfied. Our service or our not serving him will not reduce his satisfaction or reduce his enjoyment. But our enjoyment is only dependent on Krishna's enjoyment. But foolishly, when Jiva, when living entities, thinks that I will independently enjoy this material world. Hmm? Material world is a prakriti which is only meant for the enjoyment of Lord. But when a living entity thinks that I will independently enjoy the property of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, it makes our presence in this material world. If we are here, as Prabhupada says, the demigods, they always try to please the Lord in any way possible. Whatever their duties are, they act accordingly, according to the dharma, the prescribed duties they are offered, and they try to please Sri Hari. And that's the way they are called as demigods. So Srila Prabhupada is saying here, if we want to become a demigod or become godly, whatever one's occupation, personality of Godhead. And this is the true position of living entities. And please try to understand here, there is no conception of our earning or our living a life with luxury. There is no problem to earn, there is no problem to have luxuries, but there is only one problem, that is understanding all these things, they only belong to me. ईशावास्यम idam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagat tena tektena bhunjita magridha kasya svidhanam. So Ishavasyam idam sarvam, whatever exists, whatever is there existing in this material world or in any part of the world, in the material or spiritual world, everything is property of Krishna. That is the true sense. And when we apply this principle in our life, that whatever I'm having, even if I earned it or even if I got it by the grace of my forefathers or got it by the grace of my parents or got it by the grace of uh, if you are working in a company, by company. So everything whatever we are having in our life, little or more, is all given by the grace of God itself. So when we understand this principle, and yesterday His Grace Janantu was explaining us this verse. It is in Bhagavad Gita chapter 5, text number 10. ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि संगम त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन padmapatra ivambasa. So Prabhuji was telling that he was giving one example. Actually, I could relate with that example. In our life, whatever, most of the time in a villages, it was written there that आई वडिलांची पुण्याई. So Prabhuji was telling, look at it. This is also what we consider whenever we write such words, it means whatever we are having, we are not only having because of our own efforts, but it's by their grace. And this understanding or this thought process helps that person to come out of pride. He will not become proud on his luxury or on his what we call possessions. He will always be in the mood of that this possession is given to me. Hmm? And he utilizes that possession so that the fame of that personality, those because of whom that is given, should not come down. They are always in that mood. Hmm? So such a person, he is not what we call touched by pride. Hmm? So similarly, if somebody who is in this mood that whatever is given to me by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, hmm, the body, the possessions, the luxury of life, everything is his. So let me dovetail everything for him. Hmm? Or whatever I'm doing, the karma, the actions and reactions are the part. But the karma, so Prabhuji was very nicely explaining that Prakriti, here the term is Brahmane is a Prakriti. So whatever actions we are doing in this Prakriti, hmm, so let us take an example. This is Karta. Let us just, and for an example, so this is Prakriti. Hmm. So when we build these Kartals, what is in action? This Prakriti and this Prakriti, they are coming together and they are having their what we call actions, and whatever is going to come is a reaction, the sound. Hmm. So when a person who is in this mood that whatever acting in this material world is a prakriti, hmm, in connection with the prakriti, and whatever the reaction is going to come, it's just an reaction. Whatever is going to come, here is a sound is coming as a reaction. So the person who is in this consciousness that whatever is happening in this world, they are going to just happen. But as a spiritual being, the soul, I'm part and parcel of Krishna, hmm, and I'm part and parcel of God. So he will not be touched by the illusory energy of Lord. Here is the example given. Even living in this material world, will not be touched by the it's your prakriti. This body is also it's your, and they are acting. But as a spirit, as a soul, I'm totally dependent on you. So such a person, he is not touched by the sinful actions or reactions. Whatever one's occupies by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if in this mood we act in this material world, then we'll develop that godly qualities. Uh, Actually, in another place also, Prabhupada says that to serve Brahman, we have to become Brahman. What it means? To serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we have to develop the qualities of a Brahman. The qualities of what we call, uh, just as if we see, Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha. And Krishna's body is not the body like this material body. His body is totally spiritual. And as a part of his body, the soul, it is also spiritual, it is also eternal, it is also knowledgeable, it is also Anandamay. So, if we can become godly, or if we can develop these qualities of Brahman, then only we can serve Brahman, isn't it? So, by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, it, it is made so simple to develop the qualities of Brahman. So, in the path of spirituality, if you see Bhakti Yoga, it is so simple path mm, to connect ourselves with the Supreme Personality of Godhead just by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. These are 9 types by which we can connect ourselves with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Shravanam is the foremost. If you simply give an oral reception, or if you simply listen to the glorious pastimes of Lord, then it is very simple for us to develop those godly qualities simply by listening or chanting. So, by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, by the grace of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Lord Sri Krishna, we got this simple process of chanting and hearing. Hearing the glories of Lord, chanting the names, pastimes of the Lord. So this is a simple process by which we can develop those godly qualities, or those qualities like the quality of Brahman. And if we, as I couldn't find that where Srila Prabhupada says this, to serve Brahman, we must have to develop qualities of a Brahman. In one another place, Srila Prabhupada, in this same canto 7, chapter 7, it is Shlok Cramank 28, where let me read the shlok. Tasmad bhavadbhi kartavyam karmanam triguణatmanam bijanirharanam yogah pravaho paramodhiyah. Therefore, my dear friends, here Prahlad Maharaj is speaking to his friends. O son of the demons, your duty is to take to Krishna consciousness, which can burn the seed of fruitive activities artificially created by the modes of material nature, and stop the flow of the intelligence in wakefulness, dreaming, and deep sleep. In other words, when one takes to Krishna consciousness, his ignorance is immediately dissipated. So Prahlad Maharaj is advising his schoolmates. Such friends are not there in this world. But by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, in ISKCON, we have so many friends who time and time again give such advice to develop Krishna consciousness. So here Srila Prabhupada says the Bijaniraharanam refers to burning of the root causes of material life to ashes. So this is the very important word. Bija Nirharanam means burning out the root causes of what we call our existence in this material world. So what was the root cause? In the first paragraph of today's shloka we read, that Srila Prabhupada says the all living entities in this material world have come here only because they wanted to equal to Krishna in enjoyment. This is what the root cause, that we want to separately and independently enjoy, and not only enjoy, but we want to compete with Krishna. And that is not a healthy competition. Because if a child wants to compete with a grown-up personality, how far he will walk or run in marathon or in competition? We cannot compete with Krishna, because Krishna is supreme personality of God. But if we become his devotees and if we serve him, then Krishna will not compete with his devotee service attitude. To relish that, Krishna comes as Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu to relish the attitude of his devotees. So our true position is not to compete with Krishna, but to become his humble servant and try to please him. And in this attitude, Krishna will not compete with us. So if you want to compete, then compete as a servant, not as a master. but please, this word competition is very strong word. It most of the time takes us out of the game. So most of the time the competition, the word used with another word, that is healthy competition. So in our circumstance, our society, our community, whenever we are indulged in people, we must have healthy competition. So in one place, Srila Prabhupada, let me see if it is here, if I can find that. Prabhupada says that, I'm not finding that, but if I find, I will read. Prabhupada says that when we are serving along with some devotees, or when we are living in general and having some equals or seniors or juniors, when we are serving, we always have to be in a mood of servant. When we are in that mood of service, then Prabhupada says that we will not develop pride or what we call arrogance, or will not develop that I am the master, the attitude. But if we are not in that mood, then we will compete saying that I am the great. I do this better than you. And this attitude always kills our that seed of devotional service. So actually, if I could find that, yeah, it's here. The most dear, actually, Prabhupada gives the example of Srimati Radharani, and the most dear, most beloved by Krishna is Radharani, and she is so humble. As soon as a humble devotee approaches Radharani by glorifying Krishna, immediately she accepts. Oh, how great he is! He is doing greater service than me. That is Mahabhagavata's darshan. Mahabhagavat sees that everyone is engaged in service. Therefore, he has no discrimination. But don't imitate this. Don't imitate like that. And actually, in another place here in this purport, where I'm reading from 7th Canto, chapter 7, text 28, Srila Prabhupada gives the example of devotees where they should always see other devotees they are serving better than me and live in this consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada gives another reference: work because work for hita of Guru. So another concept or another understanding is that most of the time our understanding is how I should satisfy my ego, or how I should uh, satisfy my own self. And most of the time this attitude doesn't help us to progress. So Srila Prabhupada is giving the understanding that work for the pleasure of Guru. Take guidance from him, because he is the one who connects us with Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have no relation directly. If you see right now our situation, we don't have any relation directly with Krishna. What to speak of relation? We don't have faith that Krishna exists as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even we see so many things, what we call magical things or extraordinary things in the world, but we can't understand the existence of God. But Guru is one who connects us with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So while serving, if we be in this mood that I'm just serving it to please my spiritual master, then we'll develop those godly qualities. Because one of the greatest qualities is the quality of being servant of a servant of a servant. Actually, we have always have to come to the basics. We go in deeper understanding of scriptures, but we don't come to the basics, and the basics are this. In the first paragraph, Srila Prabhupada says that all living entities in this material world have come here only because they wanted to equal to Krishna in enjoyment. And the basic is, if you want to develop the good qualities and godly qualities, or become a develop the qualities of Brahman, we have to develop this attitude of being a servant of a servant of a servant. And Srila Prabhupada says that just work for the pleasure of Guru according to your position, according to your varna and ashram. Just try to serve the spiritual master and develop those qualities. Because when Srimati Radharani, the greatest devotee of the Lord, when she sees the qualities, she bestows her mercy upon such a soul who is serving the spiritual master as a humble and menial servant. Prabhupada gives so many examples. Humble and menial servant means what? He gives example of a cobbler. He gives example of what do you call, a fisherman. He gives so many examples. These are called as menial servants. So if we become so menial and serve menially the supreme personal, the spiritual master, then and then only we can develop the qualities of Brahman. And if we develop those qualities and try to develop those qualities while working, Jai Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Even if we utilize our this whole life to satisfy Guru and Krishna by doing some menial services, this the process will not be just whatever the Prakriti, or by the arrangement of Prakriti we got these bodies, just as Sri Hiranyakashipu is telling here, that we come together as an arrangement of a Prakriti, and by her arrangement itself we go away. He has given examples that just in a river, Srila Prabhupada is giving example, just in a river some straws comes together, and by the same waves of the rivers they get separated. But in any case, if we stick to the point of developing our Krishna consciousness, then we should always work in this mood of how I can serve the spiritual master and Sri Krishna in a humble mood. And this way we can develop the good qualities, and this way we can properly serve Sri Guru and Sri Krishna. And in turns it is said that shloka brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tektva karoti yah lipyate na sapaptebhya padmapatrayam ambasa. If someone is serving Sri Guru and Sri Krishna in this material world in a menial attitude, menial servant attitude, he will not be touched by the sinful actions and reactions of this material body. It will act accordingly. The body and the objects of the body, that is sense gratifying objects, they will work accordingly as our desires. But if we dovetail our desires to just to serve Krishna and Sri Guru, then it will not, what we call, affect us so much. These material activities, they will be going on, but the attitude of service, if we can cultivate that attitude and try to develop that attitude, it will save us from the greatest danger. And in this way we can serve Sri Guru and Sri Krishna. And this, as we please Sri Guru and Sri Krishna as a servant, it will take us out of this material world. As Srila Prabhupada's statement is here, all the living entities in this material world have come here only because they wanted to be equal to Krishna in enjoyment as a master. So this attitude will go off only when we start serving Sri Guru and Sri Krishna in a humble servant attitude. And this will develop godly qualities, and using those godly qualities we will serve Krishna better. So thank you very much. I hope this class gave some satisfaction to your heart. I just tried to serve. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
अमल पुराण श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि